Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. A few weeks ago, I did a video about former Republican, now Democrat David Jolly launching a long shot bid for governor of Florida as a Democrat in 2026. Today's video, I am going over a new poll that came out showing Byron Donalds running against David Jolly and what that race could look like very early on into the campaign. So, starting out, if you're unfamiliar, the 2026 Florida gubernatorial race, which will be taking place on November 3rd, will be electing the next governor of Florida, as Republican incumbent Ron DeSantis is term limited per Florida's constitution and cannot seek a third consecutive term. So there will be a new governor in Florida. Florida, however, unlike when DeSantis was first elected in 2018, which was also a Democratic blue wave year, as 2026 is expected to be, Florida is much more of a Republican state now than it was back in 2018. Florida, which for the early part of the 2000s and really ever since 2016 and 2020 was seen as one of the most important battleground states in presidential politics and at the Senate and governor level as well, has become much more of a likely Republican state in the early 2020s, and by 2026 could argue is a safe Republican state electorally. And in large part, DeSantis being governor and Republicans moving to the state of Florida has been a big reason why. On the Republican primary side of things right now, two Republicans are running, most notably Republican U.S. Representative Byron Donalds, who has the endorsement of President Donald Trump and several members of the Trump executive branch, is the leading Republican to be the nominee at this time. Charles Burkett, the mayor of Surfside, Florida, is also running in this race. The only way this primary will get really competitive is if First Lady of the state of Florida, Casey DeSantis, who has expressed interest in potentially running, jumps into this race. That would certainly shake things up and make this Republican primary more competitive than expected. But until then, we can assume Byron Donalds is probably going to be the Republican nominee without much of a fuss. And again, President Trump has already endorsed Byron Donalds, as well as several members of his administration, and U.S. Senator Rick Scott as well has also endorsed in this race. On the Democratic side of things, David Jolly is the only Democrat, again, former Republican turned Democrat, that's in the race at this time. Fentrice Driscoll, the minority leader of the Florida House of Representatives, has expressed interest in running, though she has not officially joined the race as of yet. Three Democrats have officially ruled out running: Nikki Fried, Jared Moskowitz, and Jason Pizzo, who is running for governor as an independent, not as a Democrat. Three other Democrats, Daniela Levinkova, Gwen Graham, and Angie Nixon, are seen as potential candidates as well. In the early hypothetical polling, David Jolly, when he is included in this race, if Daniela Levinkova runs for this race, it does show that she would be in first place. Jolly would be in third place behind Graham at 13 and then Jolly at 10. However, with her not running, Jason Pizzo, who at the time was also potentially running, leading in that regard, also not running in that race. So until one of these two jump in, it looks like David Jolly either starts in first or second place on the Democratic side of things, depending on who runs. But let's look now also at the independent candidates, because this could play a very important role as well. Jason Pizzo, the former Democrat, now independent, is running in this race. Another independent, Malia Domnachi, a writer, is also running, and John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan has expressed interest in running as well. This race is listed as solid Republican for Cook Political Report, Inside Elections, and Sabato Crystal Ball. The recent poll that came out, though, shows a actually more competitive race, but you might need to hold on a second. Victory Insights, which conducted this poll between June 7th and June 10th, shows Byron Donalds leading with 37%, to David Jolly 31%, and 32% undecided, with a 2.8% margin of error. So this race, starting out at a 6-point margin of victory between Donalds and Jolly, could be seen by Democrats as a very good sign in this race. This race could be more competitive than expected. And it's possible having that viewpoint could be correct, but I also think it's a case of just look at the numbers here. Donald's getting 37%, Jolly getting 31%. We know both of these candidates, if they are the Republican and Democratic nominee, are going to get a lot more than this. 32% of the vote being undecided at this time certainly doesn't make things any better. But when you look at the recent election results in the state of Florida, that's where things start to get more concerning for the Democrats than Jolly starting out about 6 points down at Byron Donalds at this time. Sure, the race is still very early on, and only being down 6 points in such a red state like Florida could be seen as good news for the Democrats, but that 32% undecided number is going to be a problem, and I'll explain why. Also, hypothetical polling that's been done in this race so far has shown relatively competitive races in all the matchups. Donald's only leading by 4 points over Levine Cava. Casey DeSantis only leading by 4 points over Levine Cava as well. And the Signal Republican versus Democrat poll from back in October of 2024 only showed Republicans leading by 7%. But that's what the polls show in Florida. The election history in Florida shows something totally different, where in 2024, just to show you first the presidential level, Donald Trump ended up winning by 13.1%, a likely Republican margin, when just 4 years before that, Florida was a 3.4% win for Trump over Biden, which in itself was a pretty big swing from 2016 when Trump defeated Hillary Clinton by just 1.2%. In the state of Florida, from 2016 to 2020, shifted 2.2% towards Donald Trump. In fact, from 2016 to 2020, almost every single state in the country shifted from the Republicans from Donald Trump to the Democrats to Joe Biden. However, a handful of states actually didn't do that. They shifted towards the Republicans. California, Nevada, Arkansas, and Illinois narrowly shifted all under 1 point towards Trump. Utah shifted 2 points towards Trump, but Florida and Hawaii were the only two states to shift towards Trump by a very substantial margin, or a substantial over 1 point margin. Florida shifting towards Trump by 2.2%. Now let's look at 2020 to 2024. And this one, pretty much every state in the country shifted towards Donald Trump from 2020 to 2024. But they all did so by varying degrees. Florida, by one of the largest, a 9.7% shift from Trump from 2020 to 2024. Republican growth in the state of Florida has been very strong in recent years, and that was a big on display in 2020 to 2024. But this isn't just also at the presidential level. We can also look at the Senate level, where, here, let me pull up the Senate map as well here. From 2024 to 2018, this is going to be Senator Rick Scott. Florida shifted 12.7% towards his directions. For Marco Rubio, from 2016 to 2022, Florida shifted about 8.7% towards the Republicans. For Governor Ron DeSantis, in 2022, it was about a 19.4% win. In 2018 against Andrew Gillum, it was a 0.39% win. So the shift in Florida from 2022 to 2018 was approximately a 19-point shift. Florida has moved so much the Republican direction, it's becoming a reliable red state. And DeSantis winning by 19.4% in 2022 sets the Republicans up for a strong position in 2026. Even though it's supposed to be a strong Democratic year, I think we can expect Byron Donalds to, at worst, win the state of Florida by over 10 points and right around the edge of winning it by 15 points, to where I have my current prediction right now, Florida being an over 15-point win for Byron Donalds. I do think in 2026 it will be a better than expected Democratic year, and the Democrats are certainly going to make a lot of gains in some states that we saw Donald Trump do very well in 2024. However, I do not believe Florida is going to be one of those states. I think Florida will either continue its Republican trend or remain about the same from where it was in 2024. While we may see some other states get more competitive and maybe go back to the Democrats in some regard, Florida, I think, will stay in the Republican side of things. But let me know what your thoughts are. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. And again, thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you in a future video.